Imagine every modern vehicle on the road going dead in a single microsecond. That is the claim. One electromagnetic pulse, and every high-tech SUV becomes a useless metal coffin, while a Toyota Hilux from the 1980s sits in the driveway, untouched, and roars to life like nothing happened. People are paying six figures on that promise right now. The only problem is that the one piece of evidence everyone cites actually proves the opposite, and the truth is stranger than the myth. I went looking for where this came from because it is everywhere. The all-mechanical relic that survives the apocalypse. The truck that does not care about the grid. The deeper I dug, the more I realized the whole story rests on a government report almost nobody selling these trucks has actually read. So let us read it. In 2008, the Congressional Commission set up to study electromagnetic pulse threats, put real cars in a real electromagnetic pulse simulator. 37 of them, model years 1986 through 2002, were blasted with fields climbing as high as 50,000 volts per meter. Here's what happened. 3 cars stalled and had to be restarted. 1 needed a repair. 25 threw nothing worse than a blinking dashboard light. And 8 showed no effect at all. Not one car was permanently destroyed. The Commission's own words were that they expected few effects below 25,000 volts per meter, and the worst case was an engine stall the driver simply restarts. That's the document the doomsday sellers point to. It says the cars survive. So if the cars don't die, where did the myth come from? It came from a half-truth wearing a costume. You've probably heard a Hilux survives because its steel body is a natural Faraday cage. It sounds right. It's wrong. A real Faraday cage is a sealed, grounded metal shell. A car has windows, seams, and rubber tires. It doesn't seal, and it isn't grounded. Worse, the wiring threaded through it behaves like an antenna, pulling the pulse in. The cage explanation collapses the moment you check it. But that doesn't mean there's nothing real here at all. Here's what I want you to think about for a second. Before I go further, if you bought one of these trucks tomorrow, would you actually want it for what it is? A simple machine you can fix yourself? Or would you be quietly buying the fantasy that it'll be the last thing running when everything else goes dark? Be honest. Drop it in the comments. And if you want to know what comes next, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Because the next video takes this exact idea somewhere you won't expect. A Plymouth that cost $5,000 new just sold for $3.3 million. And right now the best 1970s muscle cars are quietly outrunning modern supercars in long-term value. Not because they're faster, because of the one thing you still completely own when you buy a car with no computer in it. That video drops next week. Here's the part that is true, and it's the most interesting thing in this whole story. A modern car runs on something like 100 million lines of code, spread across more than 100 separate computers wired together. For scale, an F-35 fighter jet runs on about 5.7 million lines of code. Your SUV has 17 times as much code as a fighter jet. Every one of those chips is a tiny gate that an overvoltage can damage. A 1980s Hilux has almost none of them. No engine computer, no network, no immobilizer. Fewer chips means fewer things that can fail. That part is ill. The myth just inflated fewer failure points into guaranteed to survive, and guaranteed is a word no honest engineer will use about a pulse whose strength depends on the weapon, the altitude, the distance, and which way your truck happens to be parked. The fuel claims work the same way. A mechanical diesel genuinely tolerates rough fuel. Rudolf Diesel's original engine ran on peanut oil, and old indirect injection diesels can burn filtered vegetable oil or waste oil with the right setup. True, but it only applies to the old mechanical diesels, not the gasoline trucks people lump in, and not to a modern common rail diesel injecting at 20,000 pounds of pressure. which vegetable oil will destroy. So if the apocalypse math is mostly fiction, why are these trucks actually getting more expensive? Because that part is completely real. It just has nothing to do with an EMP. Clean 1980s Land Cruisers have roughly doubled in value in 5 years, according to Hagerty's data. A pristine 80s Land Cruiser sold for $141,000. A stock 1997 sold for $170,000. People are paying Porsche money for old Toyotas, but that's collector demand, reliability, scarcity, the 25-year import rule, and the overlanding boom. The Hilux earned that halo honestly. Toyota has sold more than 17 million of them across 180 countries, and Top Gear famously drowned one, burned one, and dropped a building on one, and it still started. And that is the real engine under this whole myth, not a pulse, something quieter. People want a machine they can actually fix and actually own, not a computer on wheels locked behind a dealership's software. That is the same right-to-repair frustration that pushed 75% of Massachusetts voters to force automakers to open up their car data. The myth took that real, reasonable feeling and sold it back to people as a survival prophecy with a price tag. So is an analog Toyota a fascinating, repairable, genuinely tougher machine than the average new car? Yes. Is it a guaranteed EMP-proof fortress, the last engine running when the grid dies? No. And the people charging you extra for that promise are betting you will never read the one report that settles it. The truck is real. The trend is real. The fear is the product. Before you go, one more video you need to see. If this one made you think about how much of your car is really under your control, the next one goes somewhere most people never think about. Every time you drive through a toll booth, your transponder is talking to something overhead, and a rumor has spread that those same scanners can reach into your car and shut the engine down. Is it true? The answer is stranger than the myth, and it will change the way you look at every gantry you drive under. That video is on screen right now. Thanks for being part of the Blind Spot family. Stay dangerous, and I'll see you next time.